wake up at 8:30 and whip around the house frantically, not wanting to be late for a Women's Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. Be the cat, grab my knitting, splash some water on my face, and speed into town. I am late. And the only parking place left in the church lot is handicapped. It occurs to me I could use this spot because I do, after all, have a handicap, or I wouldn't be here. And I'd be using that space to attend a meeting that, I'm told, is the only cure for my malady. Franklin D. Roosevelt once articulated, rules are not necessarily sacred, principles are. Until the rules that are imposed on us are taken to heart and made to work within our lives, they remain meaningless. More importantly, our adherence to them is inconsistent. The closest I've come to God by Lois Judson. I've missed the introduction of the speaker, which is no problem because I know her from past meetings. Jennifer, let's call her, is relating her most recent drama. Last week, she was at lunch with several high-powered attorneys and discovered to her dismay that many of the menu items were cooked in wine or flavored with beer. And to add to her dilemma, she had recently developed a more subtle symptom of her disease, food phobias. The AA members are chuckling merrily and wildly diverted as she tells her story. They understand her fears because they're alcoholics too. I worked as a nurse for years, and I think it is entirely possible that Jennifer isn't an alcoholic at all, but suffers from some kind of anxiety disorder overlaid by depression. I think she comes to AA because she wants to be part of a group, to dramatize her life, to have an audience. I knit furiously and keep my thoughts to myself. Anybody can benefit from imposing a comforting framework or philosophy on life. I came of age in the late 60s, so it was natural that I should partake of the smorgasbord of drugs available to me. I began using at the age of 13, and by the time I was 16, I was smoking pot and getting drunk every weekend. I might have actually outgrown that stage of experimentation in my life had it not been for my family's rampant dysfunction and my mother's death from cancer. I had a high tolerance for alcohol, so I never had bad trips, and I was able to get wasted for a week on the weekends and still do well in school. When I graduated from college in 1977, the country was in a recession, and there weren't an abundance of jobs for people with a BA in literature who wanted to write. So I decided to go back to school and become a nurse. This delayed the progression of my alcoholism for about a decade. I married another nurse. We bought a home and had a child. It wasn't until I had everything that my relationship with alcohol began anew. I started sneaking drinks and displaying morose, erratic behavior characteristic of alcoholics. I began going to meetings. I might have actually succeeded in my recovery had I not met a woman at those meetings who was a pill addict and introduced me to the miracle of opiates. During these years, I overdosed 3 times, and I went to rehab 3 times. I would stay clean a few months, then relapse. I divorced my first husband, remarried, and managed to keep my job and nursing license thanks only to the invention of Suboxone, a drug similar to methadone. I was still drinking, and my alcoholism gradually grew to the point where I awoke each morning filled with this free-floating anxiety that could only be relieved by a full glass of wine or a shot of vodka. A few hours later, I would have another dose of alcohol. I thought of it as medicine. In desperation, I stole a bottle of clonazepam in hopes that if I took a couple every morning, it would enable me to stop drinking. When 1 or 2 didn't work, I took a handful. in the emergency room, the doctors chanted tube down my esophagus to pump my stomach. I remember waking once and walking to the bathroom, where I barely recognized the one woman staring back at me in the mirror. It was decided that I would travel by ambulance to a rehab facility 60 miles away. As I shambled out to the vehicle, I stood briefly in the warm air of a clear June evening, dimly aware that I had ruined my life. The next morning, lying on my cold, bumpy, plastic-covered mattress in rehab, I was filled with the remorse familiar to all addicts. Memory of that moment has kept me sober for 6 months. This may not seem like much to some, but for me, it is a long time. I go to AA to remind myself of that horrible day in June. We gather in a circle and say the Lord's Prayer. At the Amen, we squeeze each other's hands and say, keep coming back. It works if you work it, and work it because you're worth it. I hate that part. Then people hug each other with great emotion. I know I could have more success, but I am cynical and proud and stubborn. I'm told these are symptoms of alcoholism. At meetings, I'm always surprised at how people describe the most humdrum events in their life to God. God is an equal opportunity creator, author of both the magnificent and the mundane. Every other time I have tried AA, I finally stopped going because I do not believe in God. I do not credit a higher power. My higher power feels like a cloudy gray sky with one Canada goose flying south in autumn. The closest I have come to God is walking to my sister's house to deliver a bag of beets. As I walk, I feel immersed in history. My sister likes beets. She boils them and pickles them and slices them into salads. I don't like beets as much as she does, but I inevitably grow a row or two in my garden simply because they are a worthy root, full of goodness and easy to grow in this northern climate. And suddenly, I am nothing but a human being, walking on a dirt track carrying a bag of beets. I feel like a child again, awed by the simple fact of my mere existence. I allow myself to contemplate the possibility that God does exist.